So we are now on chapter 11 of Gypsy's book, My Time to Stand. And in this chapter, we're going to go through and talk about the movie theater situation, which is probably one of the most popular stories in regards to Gypsy. When we hear about Gypsy's story, we all remember the movie theater. She starts this chapter by telling us that her and Nick just really wanted to be together, and they had started plotting how exactly they were going to end up together and how they were going to end up living in the same place, and she was going to get away from her mother, and which is completely different than the previous chapter, because she stated in that chapter she didn't really want Nick, she had self-esteem issues, she didn't really love him, she was just scared of him. So like, are you scared of him or are you not? She says that he could protect her by moving her away to Wisconsin to be with him, so they talked about options. She goes in to say that they had gradually started conversations to progress to the point where they would talk about the unaliving, and mainly Nick was the main instigator for these conversations. He was the one who wanted her to unalive her mother so she could be with him, and that he lived in a world of fantasies. This is what she quoted. We hear about Nick's wants to unalive his ex and rape her unalived body. Once again, I feel like this may be brought up more as these chapters go on. Gypsy said that she had gave him the plan of going into her backyard, like him sneaking off, riding a bus to Missouri, going into their backyard in the middle of the night while her mother was asleep, having sex, and then getting pregnant. And if she were to be pregnant, then her mother would have to let her leave or allow Nick into her life, where the abuse would stop. After discussing this plan, Gypsy had shoplifted prenatal pills and a pregnancy test and then posted it onto her private profile. She tells us that Nick's mom had seen this post and became very upset, and then told Nick that he needed to wear protection and that it wouldn't be a good idea for him to do things with Gypsy without having protection, because she did not want him to get Gypsy pregnant like any other mother would be in the situation. Dan is once again brought up in this chapter, and it's just let it go. Just let it go. She goes in to trash her mother once again and says that the only reason why her mother didn't want her to have a boyfriend or wanted her to be with Nick was because she was jealous of her or very insecure. So basically saying that her mother was so jealous of Gypsy that she didn't want to see her happy, that or she didn't want to lose Gypsy and had abandonment issues. As we can see, the recurring topic is Gypsy is all this and everybody just loves her and just is obsessed. So this is where the plan had started, with them meeting each other in the movie theater. Then apparently old Nick, the other demonized character in the book, mentioned the plan of taking her virginity, even though that was long gone. Tragic. And Nick said that, or apparently to Gypsy, or what Gypsy's saying, that Nick had stated that if he did take her virginity, that would mean that he would then own her. But I thought that he had already owned her, like, long before this. But Gypsy says that she didn't mind this. She didn't mind him taking her virginity and owning her. She had no problems with it because it meant that she could leave her mother. And so she has to do this right away. And right away apparently is when she is on her time of the month, because we've already heard the stories, and Gypsy, your best friend, Miss NC Natasha Cooper, has stated that it was told to her that the reason why you did this on your period was because you weren't a virgin and you didn't want Nick to know that you weren't one. So yeah, and then Gypsy complains about having to wear her Depends diapers because she was on her time of the month, and that Nick would notice this and see this. She goes in and tells us the story on how they first met each other in person, and says that Nick is a horrible actor, and she didn't think that any of this was gonna pull off. It tells us that he's really awkward and kind of weird, and and Gypsy's mother is upset with Nick being at the movie theater, and then asks Gypsy and everything, why is there a grown man in the theater watching a child's movie alone? Like creepily sitting close to them and staring at Gypsy. So she felt like something was wrong. Which is facts though, because that does kind of seem a little bit weird. I'm not gonna make any excuses for that. Gypsy then goes to the men's bathroom and to the handicap stall where she had met Nick at that point. But while she was leaving, she had stated in her book that she was just talking trash about her mother again, and saying that her mother only let her go to the bathroom was so she could attack her later. She just knew something was going on, so she just wanted to get one on Gypsy. But like, do you just want to blame everything on your mom? Like, you just want to make these weird scenarios up in your head? Like, get that checked. But anyways, back to the men's bathroom where they meet. They start to kiss, and Nick starts to reach down below. She stated that the look on his face was pure confusion, and that she could tell that he was kind of confused by the fact that she was wearing a Depends diaper, and that she was on her period, and really was just didn't know what to do at that point. I would be able to do any of that. She says Nick goes limp. She then tries to touch on him to get him erect again, and it's just not working out. It's just not working out. He's just not into it. But he is determined, so he tries to shove the limp member of his inside of her. Gypsy also insults him at this point and says the only reason why he was still determined to do this was because he just had to own her, and this meant he could own her. She says after they are done, she's leaving as a virgin, but girl, that was long gone. Nick now considers themselves married, and this was considered sex to him. They then get to the credits of the movie, and Dee Dee is just staring at Nick the entire time, just slowly gets up and walks away to the door and just walks outside. Nick walked Gypsy out to the door, and Gypsy, the beautiful soul she is, she just had to tell us, again, that Nick doesn't have a job, and she had to buy his ticket for him to be there because he's just a piece of crap. But like, Gypsy, how'd you get this money? How'd you get the money to buy him a ticket? Why didn't you take those resources and leave? Says that Nick had worked at Little Caesars. Samesies though. I did too when I was a teenager, so. Tells us the story about how Nick was arrested for playing with himself at a McDonald's. However, in the arrest records, the main reason why Nick was arrested to begin with was because he refused to leave the McDonald's when the manager had asked him to go. So that's how he got the disorderly conduct. To be arrested for playing with yourself, there has to be camera footage of this, which is not on that police report. Does tell the officers that it's just a misunderstanding. But I think I'm going to stop this chapter from here. There's just a lot that needs to be gone over, so there will be a part 2.